Hello, everybody, and welcome to English Grammar with Ameya sir. And in today's lecture, we are going to discuss very important things along with the agenda, which is the Unit 1.3 for the ninth standard. But along with that, there is something important, as I said, and that important thing is how to study during the COVID-19 times, how to make good use of the available time, how not to get stressed. And also, I'm going to deal with something very interesting, which is elimination of accent errors. So we will have a discussion on those topics after we complete the poem. Okay, or maybe in between, if there is any relevant point, we might come to that. So without further delay, let's get started with what we have at hand today. This is what we are going to study. The SSC Board 9th Standard Unit 1.3, Have You Ever Seen? That's the poem we are going to deal with. And this lecture will also be beneficial. I always say this, that it's not just the lecture for the SSC students for 9th Standard. My lectures are always mixed with something related to the language. So if you are looking at ways to improve your language, to neutralize your accent, to learn about various aspects of the language, you might not necessarily be just the ninth standard student of the SSC board. Take a holistic picture. This is something that you will learn from every video that I upload. Okay. Having said that, yes, as far as the exams are concerned, the ninth standard state board guys definitely will enjoy this because I'm dealing with the poem they have in the textbook. And one thing before we start with the poem is congratulations to my students of 12th standard who have done really well as far as English is concerned. English is not a scoring subject. It's not like maths where you can hope to score 100%. But there have been quite a lot of students who've scored over 90 out of 100 for a language paper. That's job well done. So I'm really proud of you. Thank you so much. And I've received a lot of messages about the same as well. Thank you so much. Okay, that's it. That's it, guys. Let's get started with the poem at hand. Have you ever seen? And so, what is this poem about? This poem, let me tell you, the authorship is unknown. Nobody knows who wrote the poem, so the poet is unknown here, and that's why the textbook states that it's anonymous. So whenever you see this word here, anonymous, it doesn't mean that there is a poet by the name Anonymous. It just means that the poet is unknown. So nobody really knows when this poem was written and who wrote this poem. Or maybe they know when the poem was written but don't know who wrote it. So it's anonymous. Anonymous is not the name of the poet. You got to keep that in mind. So what is this poem about? What are we going to study about the poem then? So the poem has a definite rhyme scheme, AABB. I've said this previously as well, that you can say that the rhyme scheme is AABB throughout the poem. And as some schools do, what they do is they say it's AABB, CCDD, EEFF, and they go on like that. Well, that is also correct. But if you just say that the rhyme scheme is AABB throughout the poem is also correct. We have had this discussion previously. What's next? You can find that this is uniform. This rhyme scheme is uniform. It's the same throughout the poem. The poem will have 3 stanzas, by the way. Each line of the poem is an example of pun and of interrogation. Guys, this is something important. Every line of this poem is an example of pun and interrogation. Both are figures of speech, and we will definitely talk about it at length, about what is pun. Interrogation, I believe, is very easy to understand, is it not? We'll talk about what is pun, so stay tuned for that. And every line, I'm saying, make a note of that. Every line is a pun, every line is an interrogation. Make a note of that. I hope you guys are always ready with your notepads, guys. What's next? The poem has 3 stanzas. I think I mentioned that. And each stanza is made up of 4 lines. So this is about the poem. Additionally, important point is the tone of the poem. Well, the tone of the poem is humorous. It's fun intended because the poet has used pun. Okay, so the tone of the poem is humorous. I don't think I should give you a minute's time for this. You can just pause the video if you want to make note of all the points that I've mentioned in this slide. But for the moment, just allow me to proceed, please. So what is pun? Let's talk about it. Guys, this is very important. This is probably the first time we're discussing pun on our videos, on our channel. So pay attention. Give me your undivided attention. What is pun? When a word can mean two or more things and it creates ambiguity, it is said to be an example of pun. Let me read that one more time. When a word can mean two or more things, it creates ambiguity. It is said to be an example of pun. So when you can, what it simply means is that when a thing is said or when a word is used, if there is more than one interpretation, it can mean this, it can mean that, it could even mean something else, totally different. So whenever such a thing happens, there is ambiguity. It can be interpreted in a number of ways. And such a thing is called a pun. Very important. This is pun. Now, let me see if I've dealt with an example on this slide. If not, this will be the first time I believe I'll take you to our notepad. Okay. Let's see if I have covered examples of pun here. Ambiguity means something that has more than one interpretation. I think I told you that. This is very important. This is the meaning of ambiguity. It means that it can mean more than one thing. It has more than one interpretation. That's it, guys. Now the poem is started on the PPT, but I think it is good that we go to the notepad. So here is the notepad for today, and mind you, there are already 3 things I have listed. These are the 3 things that we are going to discuss in today's video. But first we are going to talk about pun. So let us deal with the examples of pun, and I'm sure that you are going to love these examples. Let's say she has many fans. Okay, she has many fans. What did I just say? I said she has many fans. Now, why is this an example of pun? Well, the simple reason why this is pun is because I'm saying she has many fans, which means that she has many admirers. A lot of people are fan of her work. She has many fans. And it could also mean that she has many ceiling fans. So you can interpret it in 2 ways. She has many fans. It's free for us to interpret the way we want. So when I say something like she has many fans, you can be sure that it's an example of pun. I'm sure you love that, okay? Can be interpreted in at least two or even more ways. That is pun, okay? Can we have another example? Surely, I'll give you another example. Let's say the second example is an ambassador is someone who lies abroad. Okay, what am I just saying? An ambassador is someone who lies abroad. What a fantastic example. An ambassador is someone who lies abroad. Well, now it again mean two things. It can mean 2 things. An ambassador is a person who stays abroad, or an ambassador is a person who unfortunately goes abroad and lies because of some helplessness. Okay, so an ambassador is a person who lies abroad. An ambassador is a person who lies abroad. So if free to interpret. So this is pun, and I will not give you more than 2 examples. There is a reason why. The reason is that your textbook has given you this assignment of finding out at least 4 examples of pun. So if I give you all 4, well, that's spoon feeding. And you all know that I teach you, I coach you, but I don't spoon feed you. I don't want that to happen. So I will ask you to use Google to find examples on your own. Be resourceful yourself. But I think I've given you 2 good examples. Both the lines, number 1 and number 2, has more than one interpretation, and therefore these are examples of pun. Fantastic. Love this, guys. Back to the PPT. So we did this. And now we will proceed to the first stanza of the poem. As usual, I want your 100% undivided attention when I explain. Enjoy every line. So what is the first stanza like? Let's start. Have you ever seen a sheet on a riverbed? So how is that a pun? You can clearly see the poet is asking us, have you ever seen? And that's why probably the title is Have You Ever Seen? So clearly the introduction phrase is like that. Have you ever seen a sheet on a riverbed? So you can see that we are looking at a riverbed, but obviously it's not a bed sheet. So there obviously is never a sheet on a riverbed. That's why it is a pun. You can see the correlation 100%. This word actually is worth studying. The word is sheet. Very important that you save yourself with the embarrassment. It's sheet. Okay. SHEET. Very important. Save yourself some embarrassment. It's a long vowel. So that's the first example of pun there, because there are two things. Next one, or a single hair from a hammer's head. You can see that this is a hammer and this is the head of the hammer. But obviously it's the head of the hammer, so you don't expect to see a single hair there, is it not? Again, free to be interpreted in more than one way, so that's why it's an example of pun. Notice that there are question marks at the end of each statement. I said every line is interrogation as well. The third one, has the foot of a mountain any toes? So clearly if you're looking at a mountain range, you say that there are foothills, but then you don't expect it to have a toe. So again, an example, a very good example of pun. And lastly, and is there a pair of garden hose? You know that garden hose is that water pipe, is it not? And normally you associate hose with the hosiery, the socks. They're always in pairs, is it not? So the poet is asking, is there a pair of a garden hose? Again, clearly you can see that there are more than one ways of interpretation. Let's see what we can study here as far as the poetical device is concerned. Alliteration. The sound H is repeated for a better poetic effect. Is there anything else here? No, nothing here. I'm sure that you've understood why it is pun now, and make a note of the alliteration. Do I give you a minute for jotting down all of this? I guess not required. There's just one entry. However, remember the H sound is the H sound here. Hammer and head. The H also makes the A sound. Like hour, like our recording is always for an hour. Somebody is honest. Yeah. And there is great honor. You don't say honor. You don't say honest. You don't say hour. There's one more entry that you should know. My students must know this. Legal heir. Guys, it's always legal heir. The one who inherits property is a legal heir. The spelling begins with H, but it's not legal hair. It's nothing to do with the hair being legal there. Legal heir, not legal hair. Even advocates go wrong with this. And you will really make a good impression when it comes to these points that I mentioned in the lecture. You can save yourself that embarrassment. It's not legal hair. Don't shout in the court, legal hair. It's legal heir. Someone who gets property, inherits property, legacy, legal heir. It's not legal hair. The other word I talked about was sheet, the bed sheet, your answer sheet. Very important. Save yourself some embarrassment. And let's get back to the poem. We saw this. No time limit needs to be given for this. No countdown timer, that is. Again, I'm starting now with the next stanza. Please be with me and give me your 100% undivided attention. Does the needle ever wink its eye? So clearly this is the needle and this area is the eye of the needle. So do you expect it to wink? No, sir. That's why it's an example of wink. So clearly there's figures of speech here. We'll study this later along with pun and interrogation. Why doesn't the wing of a building fly? You know, there is the A wing and the B wing to your apartment or to your building, to your society. And will that wing fly? No, sir. Again, a good example of pun. Notice that creating such a poem is a beauty in itself, is it not? Very important. Can you tickle the ribs of a parasol? Well, this is a rib cage. Can you tickle the ribs? Well, this area, well, these are the ribs of a parasol. And by parasol, I mean an umbrella. Or open the trunk of a tree at all. So this is the trunk or the chest where you save your, preserve your valuables or keeps things, store things. And also the trunk is the outer cover of a tree. Okay, the trunk of a tree. So can you open the trunk of a tree or not at all? Clearly, again, very good examples of pun. Parasol, I told you, is an umbrella. Guys, let me teach you another word for umbrella. Umbrella is quite common. Now you have learned the word, another word for it, parasol. Let me give you another word. There is another word you should know, which is brolly. B-R-O-L-L-Y. Brolly. It's the rainy season. You can flaunt this vocabulary. So if someone is going out, maybe your mom is going out, you can tell her, hey mom, it's raining outside. Please carry a brolly with you. It's raining outside. Please carry a brolly with you. Please carry an umbrella with you. That's the way you are going to use it. So interesting, is it not? Worth making a note of it. I'm sure that there are grammar entries. I told you about the figures of speech as well. Well, let's first see this alliteration. The sound T is repeated. Trunk, T sound. Tree, the T sound. You can also mention that the sound TR is repeated for a better poetic effect. Guys, instead of just saying that the sound T is repeated, you can go ahead and say that the sound TR, tr sound is getting repeated. Guys, the tr sound, trunk, TR, and tree, TR. So instead of just saying the sound T, you can go ahead and say that the sound TR is getting repeated for a better poetic effect. Good observation, is it not? Not just the T, the TR sound is getting repeated. I'm sure you enjoyed that, guys. There's more. I told you the first line. It's personification, guys, because the needle has been given the human quality of winking. We all know needle can never ever wink, but then the poet has used personification here. I think this should be the first where you actually get a minute to jot down things, is it not? Let's see if we are done with the slide. Yes, we are. So I'm going to set the countdown for a minute, and please make sure that you take not more than a minute, guys. Your time starts now. Under 10 seconds now. And your time is up, and I'm sure that you are done with what was required. Now for the third and the final stanza, I'm sure you remember the poem had 3 stanzas as studied earlier, and this word anonymous only means that the poet is unknown. Sometimes you just find it written in short as anon. Let's get started. Stop doing everything else. Give me your 100% undivided attention, guys. Let me start. Are the teeth of a rake ever going to bite? Guys, this is a rake. It's a garden tool to grab the leaves or collect things together. Look at the way it is. It has teeth. And so the poet has said that is it ever going to bite? Is it not? Well, this bite also reminds me of something very nice that I can share with you. What is it? Bite is an important way to talk about accents. How is that? Well, look at the difference here. The difference between, can we talk about it now or talk about it when we talk about accents? Isn't that one of the points jotted in our notepad for today? Let's hold that thought for a little while. Let's continue with this, because don't worry, I will state this point because we've already jotted down the accent part today. So let's get back to the poem. I'll deal with it in a moment. So clearly you understood this. Are the teeth of a rake ever going to bite? No, they are not. Have the hands of a clock any left or right? So these are the hands of the clock. And does it ever have any left or right? Well, not really. It's round the clock. Can the garden plot be deep and dark? Guys, here you need to understand the meaning of the word plot. This is the garden plot, but plot also means a conspiracy, a plan by people against you. So can the garden plot be deep and dark? Well, that's nice, is it not? I'm sure you today learned another meaning of the word plot. And what is the sound of the bird's bark? Guys, this is the birch tree, and the outer body, the cover, the thick cover is the bark. But obviously the poet's asking us what's the sound of that bark. So bark is the dog barking. So clearly the bird's bark is not going to make any sound. So he is trying to bring about a pun here. Notice again that every line is interrogation as well. Guys, I have not mentioned it in every stanza because I mentioned it right at the start that every line of this poem, every line is a pun, every line is an interrogation. Whatever is extra has been mentioned in the slides, but don't ever forget that every line is a pun, every line is an interrogation. So basically in this poem, if your teacher asks you figures of speech, I don't think you're going to go wrong because every line is a pun, doesn't matter what line is asked. Nice. Let's get back to study more from this slide. What are the entries? Plot, I told you, is a dangerous or a harmful plan. Bird's bark is the B sound getting repeated, so it is an example of alliteration. Deep and dark, it's alliteration again because of the sound D that is getting repeated for a better poetic effect. Is there anything else? I don't think so. Oh, yes, there is. Oh, that's nice. Left or right is opposite. Exactly. Antithesis. It's a very good example. Left or right is antithesis. Well, guys, this is a very good example of why teachers also need to make a note of these things. How easy it was for me to actually go ahead and forget this, but it's written here, so I know. Left or right, antithesis. The words left and right are opposite in meaning. And that's it. So before we go to the next part, I think I'm going to give you again a minute to jot down the things here. Please be careful, very prudent while you jot things down. Do it meticulously, meaning very carefully. Your time starts now. Well, only 5 seconds more now. And your time is up. And I have no doubt that you were able to make a note of everything. It is now time for us to go and study some textual exercises. I'm not going to give you all. I told you I don't spoon feed. That's not my practice. But I will deal with some important textual exercises. And later we will talk about a few important points that I have shortlisted. But before all that, well, my last lecture was actually a story, the Vikram Vetal story, and I've received a very nice feedback on emails about it. Also, a couple of students so far have done their audio recording. I told you, right, that you should listen to the story and try to make a recording. if possible, I will show that immediately in the next lecture, or if not the next week. I'll probably share those clippings with you, or at least a clipping with you about how what a good work even the students do, what makes a teacher proud. Okay, I am proud. So I'll share that the next week or the next lecture. Now the next for us is the textual assignment. As I said, this is the question number 5 in your textbook. Read the following sentences carefully. Fill in the blanks using appropriate words from the brackets to make puns. So guys, we are going to make puns out of these lines, and the good thing is they have given us the words here. You can see that they have given us all the words that you will need to create puns for all these 8 statements. Obviously, I am interested in giving you a couple of minutes here, so you can try it on your own. And after those couple of minutes, I will definitely reveal the answers. Make sure that a pun is created, and you have the choices given in the bracket. So you should try on your own, and the target should be to get at least 6 out of 8. Then you can say that you've understood pun. Okay. All the best. Your time starts now. You got a couple of minutes. I'll see you at the end of these 2 minutes. Under 10 seconds now, and I have no doubt that you will score 6 out of 8, and some of you even 8 on 8. The time is up. So time for me to reveal the answers. Let me know in the comments if you actually got 8 on 8. I will really be happy, but don't lie about it. Be honest about it. So time for me to reveal the answers. Here they are. Please check it. She had a photographic memory but never developed it. Guys, the word is developed, not developed. It's developed. Notice the subtle difference between the two. Not developed, it's developed. Next, he was struggling to figure out how lightning works when it struck him. So lightning strike, is it not? Every calendar's days are numbered. So we're talking about calendar, we're talking about days, and then the number. A bicycle cannot stand on its own because it is too tired. How's that? Is it not? I am reading a book on anti-gravity. It is impossible to put down the book. This is, I believe, the easiest one to spot. Is it not? Let me know if you agree. I would tell you a chemistry joke, but I know I wouldn't get a reaction. So chemistry and reaction. So you know the pun. What do you call Watson when Sherlock isn't around? Homeless. This might have been a little tough. But if you know, if you already had known that it's Sherlock Holmes, of course that is Holmes, but it's Holmes anyway. So that's why it's homeless. I would tell a history joke, but it is too old-fashioned. So history being too old-fashioned, well, there is pun there. I have no doubt, guys, that you have thoroughly enjoyed studying pun in this lecture. If you had never studied pun before, I'm sure that this was something new and something nice. And even if you had studied pun before, I'm sure that I've added something to your knowledge by virtue of this poem. The next one is an assignment. The textbook wants you to read something. What is that something? They want you to actually read Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. He is Lewis Carroll. And by the way, there is, in fact, if some there are students who would love watching a movie, is it not? So in 2010, there was this movie Alice in Wonderland by, was it Walt Disney? I'm not sure whether it was Walt Disney, Disney Pictures, whatever. You tell me that in the comments. I think you can see that it's Disney, I think, over here. Yeah, so it's a Disney Pictures release. And if you don't want to read the poem, you can do this, watch it, and let me know. So this is the activity in the textbook. There's nothing for me to do here. The next is an important assignment for homographs. But before we go ahead and deal with that activity on homograph, I want you to understand the difference between homophones, homographs, and heteronyms. Again, homophones, homographs, and heteronyms. Very important, guys. Very important. So the thing is, this part I can say is the second most important part for today's lecture. The first, of course, is the poem. The second is this. And then the last but not the least is the discussion about the accent and elimination of a few important errors and so on. Of how to use time in and plan your studies during COVID-19. We'll talk about that. But this is important. The discussion is what are homophones, what are homographs, and what are heteronyms. You will thoroughly enjoy this. You don't have to be a student of 9th standard state board. It's just general English discussion. Enjoy this. Let me know in the comments if you enjoyed me dealing with this in detail. So homophones, homographs, and heteronyms. Well, to study this, we will need to study the aspects about spelling, the pronunciation. By the way, that's the pronunciation of pronunciation, meaning, and an example. We'll study the types, the homophones, homographs, and heteronyms. First, we will study homophones. Guys, watch this really very closely, guys. Really very closely. Okay? Really very closely. What are homophones? Homophones are, for example, sun and sun. S-U-N and S-O-N. Notice that the spelling is not the same. Is the spelling same? No. The pronunciation is the same. Sun, sun. The sound is the same, right? The meaning is not the same. Well, this one is our nearest star, and this is what I am to my father. So sun and sun is different, is it not? Such words are homophones. What did we study? The spelling is not the same. The pronunciation is the same. The meaning is not the same. And so example is sun and sun. Now, I am going to deal with the example in the notepad. Let me take you to the notepad now for this one. So for the category of homophones, let me give you another example. By and by. So by and by. Check out the conditions. What did we study as conditions, guys? We studied that the spelling should not be the same. So clearly the spelling is not the same. We studied that the pronunciation should be the same, which it is, by and by. And the meaning should not be the same. Well, not really. This one is to purchase in exchange for money. And this one is just to bid adieu. Okay? And when you depart, you say bye. Or tata. Something like that. Now, next one, please. Back to PPT. So this is about homophones. Now, the next one. the homographs. And remember, it is about the homographs that we are going to have the exercise in the textbook. Very important, guys. So what are those? Example, bat, bat. So the spelling should be the same. Is it like that? Yes. The pronunciation should be the same. Well, bat and bat. So yes. Well, the meaning should not be the same. Well, clearly there is a difference. So understand the subtle difference between homophones and homographs, guys. Remember the cross and the tick marks. Very important difference. So what is the difference, guys? Well, bat, well, you can say that one of them is a cricket bat and the other bat is a flying mammal. Well, the world is scared about that creature at the moment for sure. You know what I mean, is it not? Let me deal with an example. We will probably deal with that in the homograph, but before that, let me take into consideration some more examples of homographs in the notepad. We're dealing with more examples in the notepad, is it not? So in the notepad, now if I have to talk about the homographs, I will give you the example of chest and chest. Guys, chest and chest. Notice what did we study about all of this, about homographs? The spelling should be the same. Well, yes, it is. Then we studied that the pronunciation should also be the same. Well, yes, it is. The meaning should not be the same. Well, it is not. Chest is your area covering the ribs, something in the region of the heart. And the other chest is a trunk. We saw that during the explanation of the poem, is it not? Chest, something to store your valuable, like a trunk. So that's an example of a homograph. Let's come now back to the PPT for the third category, the heteronyms. So what are those? Let's study the heteronyms now. The example is minute and minute. Notice, guys, minute and minute. So minutely watch this. The conditions, the spelling should be the same. Well, is it like that? Well, yes. The pronunciation should not be the same. It is not. Minute and minute. Guys, notice the spelling is the same, but still the pronunciation is different. It's amazing and very interesting, is it not? And the meaning, of course, should not be the same. If you talk about minute, then you're talking about the period of 60 seconds. Minute is a period of 60 seconds. And minute is a very close observation. So if you are a good student, you would notice things minutely, is it not? About what your sir is saying. Minute, making minute observations. So minute and minute. How interesting is this? The spelling is the same, and yet there is difference. I have shared some examples with you in previous lectures. Content and content, I've shared it. Comment and comment, I have shared this. One more example would be bow and bow. Nice, is it not? Bow is something that you wear as a formal thing. The waiters at some hotels and restaurants, bow, or the rainbow, or the bow and the arrow. But if you bend down with respect before the start of a judo or a karate contest, it's amazing, is it not? They greet each other, they show concern, and then they hit each other. It's amazing. But anyway, my point is, that's bow. You bow to a deity, is it not? You bow to your guru. So that's bow. And bow is something different. The spelling is the same. B-O-W, B-O-W. Guys, it is for these discussions that you should watch my lectures. Very important. I'm not saying that I'm the only teacher who gives you videos on your lessons. So many, and they are good. I think what I add to it is this discussion about various language aspects that I love about it. And I'm sure that is exactly what you love about it. So let me know, guys. Let me know. Back to the PPT. I'm going to give you, let's say, a minute to quickly jot this down. Guys, I want you to make very clear, columns and paragraphs, because this is a very important table here. So I don't want you to take 2 minutes for this. I think a minute is fine. Just be quick with this. I will see you. I will join you at the other side of this minute. Okay, so your time starts now. Please make a note of it, guys. Under 10 seconds now. And your time is up. Hopefully you were able to make a note of this. If not, please watch this video again and then make your notifications. For the moment, let's go to the notepad, guys. Very important. We have to study examples of heteronyms, is it not? So let me take you to the notepad. Here we are. And now we are talking about heteronyms. Note the spellings. I gave you the example of bow and bow. Okay, we talked about it. I'm just making a note of it here. By the way, there is another thing I want to share with you. Homographs, guys, they are also known as homonyms. Kindly make a note of that as well, guys. Homographs are also known as homonyms, something that is very important. Your textbook in the 9th standard, 10th standard, well, they will use the word homographs, but you should know that homonyms is also another term for homographs. And now, please allow me to go ahead with our PPT. Next exercise. Think of 5 homographs, and now you have the knowledge of homographs, and list them below. Then write 2 sentences of your own to bring out the difference in meanings. Let's start one by one, guys. I'm going to consider the first example of bat. The bat is a flying mammal and does not lay eggs. So guys, this can be a trick question. I saw this once on a quiz show that the anchor asked the contestants a question, what is the color of bat's eggs? And he gave them options like green, white, blue, and none of these. Well, none of these was the answer because bat is a mammal. So there's no question of it laying eggs. It's a trick question. But anyway, this is the example that we shared here at the moment for bat. Next, the batsman kissed his bat after he scored a century. Very nice. Often the batsmen do that, is it not? Capital. There are 2 applications. Mumbai is the financial capital. You can say financial as well. Mumbai is the financial capital of India. Indubitably, no doubt about that. Then the other one is they had enough capital to start their own business. If you have any background of economics, you know this. Capital is not just the capital city or something that is important. Capital is also the initial investment to start a business. That is called capital. All right, back to PPT. Well, the third example is date. So what are the applications? Well, also let me draw it for bat. They went for a movie on their first date. Ooh, nice. The next one, the check wasn't honored since the date was incorrect. So don't mismatch here. Not because the date was incorrect. The date was incorrect and they went for a movie on their first date. Nice. Don't confuse. And by the way, don't confuse this with dates. The dry fruits. Okay, dates. Remember, it's always with the S, dates. Anyway, back to our examples. The next one is can. What are the 2 applications? We enjoyed the soft drink from the can. Avoid soft drinks, but anyway. She can sing delightfully well. But the first one is the can. Okay, I'm sure you've had soft drinks in a can. And the other one is she sings delightfully. She can sing delightfully. So can there is ability, is the modal auxiliary of ability, that she can give pleasure when she sings. Can. Good. Nice talent. And let's continue with our last final example. Here, left. What are the two applications? The train had left the station when I arrived. You should take the left turn for the museum. Clearly two different applications. Should I give you a minute for this? I should. So I'm going to concede a minute. Please jot down everything as quickly as you can. If not, later you should visit the video again. But I'm not going to concede more than a minute. Enjoy the music. I'll join you at the end of this minute. Last 5 seconds. Well, in fact, the time is up, and I have no doubt that you must be done with the needful. And now, how can that happen that you are in my class, online class, and listening to the video, but there's no homework? Not happening. So there is homework now. The next slide. It's quite simple. I've explained you the poem. So this poem should, this homework should, beg your pardon, this homework should not be tough at all in any way. What is the homework? Well, this is your homework. From each line in the poem that we studied, pick out the word that is a homograph and write its meaning in the context of the phrase. Guys, for the first one, you remember, bed is a piece of furniture. You know, we definitely had those images. I shared images every time, is it not? So that will help you here. Well, one meaning of bed, piece of furniture, the other is the bottom of the river or the sea. So similarly, you've got to talk about the first stanza, second stanza, third stanza, and share what the word means, a couple of meanings of that word. So go ahead and do that. That should be your homework. And at the moment, we should now, I guess, immediately go to our other discussion that we are going to have today. I told you this session is going to be really interesting. What I'm going to deal with now is how you can avoid stress, how you can plan your studies. This is for all the students, not just 9th standard. It doesn't matter whether you're a state board student or not. But this is really something that I wish to share with you. So let me talk about it, and I will now go to the image board that I have to share this with you. The first important point that I'm going to talk about is your time management, guys. The time management is so important because you have to understand, just because the things are going online right now doesn't mean that you burden yourself with everything that is on offer. In this video itself, I did talk about how I ain't the only one to offer lectures. There's so many teachers doing their best. They are all doing their best. But does it mean that you can watch everything on the net available? You can't do that. So please don't stress yourself. Don't burden yourself. That is my point. So it is about the time management. Try to find out how many days you have before your unit test, if at all your school is going to conduct them. Then divide your time nicely about how much of time are you willing to devote for your online classes. There, you should not have the neck issues, you should not have back issues. And I say this because I want to share this with you. Even the teachers have spent a lot of time. I am bringing this lecture to you guys, but does that mean that I don't spend time preparing all this? I do spend a lot of time creating this content. Believe you me. And you know that I am a chess coach as well. You know that I am into share market as well. Playing music is my hobby. Spare some time for that. It's very important, these things, and of course English. I'm into motivational speaking as well. To create content as well, you have to be online in front of the computer. So I very well know, I can relate to the problems the students are undergoing at the moment. My mantra is very simple: have proper timetable made, and never let one sitting be more than an hour. Never let it be more than an hour. There has to be some break. If there is no break that the teachers give you, you take a break. 1 hour is really the peak in sitting at one position. And have you noticed one more interesting thing? Whenever you're focused on the computer screen, observe this, okay? And if it is really interesting or something that you have to write or type, you normally blink less or you don't blink at all. Ask any doctor this. Ask any physician, any medical practitioner, and they'll agree. If you're playing a game, if you're doing an activity, if you're typing something, you almost blink lesser than normal occasions or normal times, or sometimes you don't even blink, and that isn't good. So don't spend a lot of time in front of the screens. Divide your time. I hope I was able to make my point very clearly here. The other thing is, I have said this about my videos so many times. Our recording is always for about an hour, is it not? I have never stressed on this, that you should, or rather not stressed, pressurized, that you should listen to it at one stroke. Oh hell no. The recording is available to you. I put it on the YouTube, it's there. So you can divide it. You could divide it into 4 sessions of 15 minutes every day. Stop at 15 minutes. Then resume. So you can do it. 23s are 60, 15 4s are 60. Divide it according to the time available at your disposal. It's not quintessential that you have to be there for one full straight hours and force yourself to watch the video. Hey, that is why I am recording this and I am not live at the moment. So use it to your advantage. Why don't you think about it that way? I'm sure that it's helping you. Listen and make proper notes. Plan your studies. I'm sure I've talked enough about this. My next point is about doing yoga. Please practice doing yoga for your physical fitness. The students, they are of the age group that they have to actually, they should spend time outside on the playgrounds. But I am really sorry to say that and it's at the moment good that you stay at home, but that doesn't mean that you should be without any physical activity or exertion at all. So yeah, that should help. Practice various asanas. I should say yoga, I shouldn't say yoga. That's the anglicized pronunciation. Yoga is just better than saying it as yoga. The next I want to talk about is meditation. Well, the fellow here is at the top of some mountain there. I don't want you to venture outside and find a mountain for you to do that. No way. I am just saying that you can do it in your house. Please make sure that you do things, guys. Don't just listen to them and forget. Just spend some time with simple techniques of meditation. Just breathe in, breathe out. Try to empty your mind, or if at all, try to focus your mind on one thing. 10 minutes a day. It brings about a change. It does. Try and do that. Don't feel the stress at all. No need. Everything is good and everything will be good. The next point I want to talk about is indulge in a hobby. I just told you that I'm into chess as well. I play the music. I'm a keyboard player, that is a synthesizer player. Well, yeah, focus on whatever you like doing. Maybe it's music, maybe it's some game. If you don't have anything to do at all, believe me, I have no problem you play snakes and ladders with somebody. I don't care. But solve crosswords. That's a nice idea. Do that. So make sure that you do something, keep yourself active. And my last point, but the very important point, in fact, that's why I kept it for the end, it is about visualizing the future. Yes, we are going through this pandemic right now, but why don't you make yourself quite at, you know, what you can say, a delightful state? Why don't you take yourself to a delightful state merely by thinking about what you can do in the future? One thing is for sure, there has to be an end to this thing, and there is. It's not yet there, but there is a definite end to this. So why don't you think about something that can make you happy? So imagine you are out there with your friends. Imagine that you are back to your old routine when the world returns to normalcy. Yeah, normalcy is the noun form. Normal is the adjective. Imagine those times right now. Because in one of my previous lectures, I clearly remember telling you that happiness is just a state of mind. So if you are happy, you are happy. If you are unhappy, you are unhappy. It's your mind who decides that. If you are happy, you are happy, regardless of where you are. If you are unhappy, then you are unhappy no matter where you are. So please think about the situations or what it would be like, what would you do once we are past this COVID-19. Well, that should definitely make matters very pleasant. You can actually try to do that. And now I am left with not more than 4 minutes to deal with the points that I had prepared. But I guess I can always take this in the next lecture as well. But I will discuss one of those points. What is the one point that I want to discuss? We will talk about the accent errors. We will quickly talk about this, guys. The accent errors. We will deal with the common, I did deal with the COVID-19 thing, and I will deal with this common errors in the next class. And by the way, you should now, by now at least, you should clearly know my schedule, how things were. I'm sure you know it. I record a lecture every Saturday, which I upload on Sunday. Then I record a lecture again on Monday and upload it on Tuesday. Well, of course, that will change once again we are done with this COVID-19 thing. But for the moment, that is the schedule. So, you know that every week you will have 2 recordings. So, I will, today being Saturday, just a couple of days, and I'll discuss the third point then. At the moment, let me quickly deal with some good examples about what I mean by accent errors. And I'm going to, because I'm a guy, Marathi speaking guy, Maharashtrian, I'll deal with the accent today about the people from Maharashtra, where they could do so much better. They often go wrong with the F sound, with the F sound. So my point is, for the word fast, you tend to hear a lot of pashta. It's not pashta, it is fast. Again, it is not pashta, it is fast. Now, how to correct this? This is why, a language mentor will show you the technicality. Watch this closely. Watch me closely. The thing is, when you make the correct sound, listen to this. When you make the correct sound, your lips don't touch. When you make the incorrect sound, then your lips do touch. For example, fast. Fast. It's the bite, is it not? The teeth touch your lower lip. Fast. But when you kind of say the wrong thing, then your lips definitely, it's like as good as your own kiss. Okay. Pashta. See this? Pashta. It's not pashta. It's fast. So the way to correct it is not to make sure, rather to make sure that you don't do that kiss maneuver of your lips. Fast. Fast and not pashta. So I'm sure that you understood and loved this example. Never ever say pashta. It is fast. Another very important point is the v and the w sound. Before I end the lecture, let me deal with this example as well. What did I just say? The v and the w sound. F-E-W-E-R. F-E-W-E-R is fewer. Fewer. F-E-V-E-R is fever. Guys, there's a difference. Okay. F-E-W-E-R is fewer. So fewer tests. And fever test. F-E-V-E-R. I'm sure you understood the subtle difference. Okay. I can go on and on about it, but I think we've hit the hour. So it's time for us to bid adieu or to say bye. B-U-Y or B-Y-E. B-Y-E. It's time for us to say bye. As usual, I have enjoyed thoroughly presenting this lecture to you. Guys, the number of patients is on the rise, that number, and it's scary. I always end my videos asking you, urging you to please stay inside. Do not venture outside and be heroic. Please take care of yourself. Cities like, Mumbai, Pune, the numbers are alarming. Please stay home. Take good care of yourself. Health is wealth after all. So hopefully you will do that, and we will meet again the next time. I'll record a lecture in a couple of days' time. Up until that time,